It was one of those cold winter nights when I made the decision that changed my life forever. My name is Khalid, and I work as a fisherman in a small coastal village on a quiet gulf. I had always refused the idea of night fishing. Stories told by the village elders about the spirits of the sea and the one who comes with the fog had filled my imagination since childhood. But pressure piled on me like crashing waves, mounting debts, my young daughter's illness that drained my meager savings, and failed fishing seasons that drove my colleagues to abandon the profession. So when the merchant Suleiman offered me a large sum of money for a special night catch, I couldn't refuse. "Great white shark, Khalid," he said in his soft, deceitful tone. "They say it appears near the abandoned island at night. Its meat is valuable and its fins. My friend, they'll clear your debts and treat your daughter." Now, as I write these words from my cold cell, I wish I had listened to my own heart's warning. But need blinds the eye. I set out in my small boat, Al Mansur, at nightfall, ignoring the villagers' pitying, fearful looks. The sea was eerily calm, as if holding its breath in anticipation. The black water beneath my boat reflected only dead stars and a moonless sky. I knew the waters around the abandoned island well. They were frightening even in daylight, with the ruins of an old house where, it was said, an entire family had disappeared 50 years ago. I reached the spot Suleiman had marked for me and threw in my special net designed for large fish. Then I began to wait. At first, there was nothing but the gentle sound of waves against the boat's sides and the creaking of rope. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. A faint sound, like fingers knocking on the wood of the boat. I turned quickly but saw nothing. I thought it might be drifting debris. Tap, tap, tap. Again, but stronger this time. A chill crawled into my bones. The sound wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from beneath the boat, directly under my feet. "Just a big fish," I whispered to myself, trying to calm my fear. But the tapping continued, forming a rhythm, a pattern, almost like a code. Then it suddenly stopped. My breath left me when I saw the net begin to move. Something heavy had been caught. With a mixture of excitement and dread, I began pulling it in. It was unnaturally heavy. I expected a massive shark, but what surfaced made me gasp. It wasn't a fish. It was a corpse. A man's corpse. Hands bound, eyes wide open, staring eternally at the sky. On his chest a message was pinned. "This is what happens to traitors." My hands trembled as I quickly cut the ropes, letting the body sink back into the dark depths. But before it vanished, I noticed something. He was wearing a distinctive wedding ring. I'd seen it before. It belonged to an experienced fisherman named Fad, who had disappeared 2 weeks earlier. Everyone thought he'd fallen overboard during a storm. I vomited over the side of the boat. This wasn't an accident. I had come to a dumping ground, not a fishing spot. Suddenly, bright floodlights lit up behind me, blinding me. A large modern boat approached silently. 3 men stood on it. At the front stood Suleiman, smiling that soft smile I knew too well. "Well done, Khalid," he called in his calm, deceitful voice. "You found exactly what we were looking for." What's happening, Suleiman?" I shouted, my voice shaking. "Business, my friend. Sometimes the sea is the best place to dispose of work problems." The boat came closer, and I saw the other 2 men clearly. One was huge, tattoos covering his arms. The other was a thin young man with anxious eyes. The large man held a big fishing hook. "The body, Khalid," Suleiman continued. "We need it again." I attached important documents to it. In that moment, I understood. I had been used. I was their guide to locate the body of a man they had killed because they didn't know exactly where they had dumped him. Fad, the old fisherman, had worked with them and betrayed them. Maybe he tried to steal. Maybe he tried to inform the police. "Go down and bring it to us," Suleiman said. His smile remained. "I can't," I whispered. The smile vanished. "You can, and you will. Otherwise, your sick daughter will lose her father as well." In that moment, I knew. If I dove into those dark waters, I would never return. I would become another fishing accident, another corpse swallowed by the depths. So I did the only thing I could think of. I jumped into the water before they could stop me. The cold hit me like an electric shock. The black waters swallowed me instantly. I swam under my boat toward the abandoned island. Behind me, I heard angry shouts and splashing. They were chasing me. The island was closer than I thought. I reached its rocky shore gasping and hid among the large stones. From my hiding place, I saw my boat Al Mansour burst into orange flames. They had blown it up to leave no evidence. "Search for him," I heard Suleiman shout angrily. "He can't get far." I wandered across the island, my clothes glued to my shaking body. The abandoned family house stood before me like a stone skull, its broken windows like dead eyes watching me. I entered because I had no choice. Inside was full of sand and seabird nests, but in one corner, something was off. A modern box with a rusty lock. Next to it, a pile of worn-out nets that seemed to have concealed something. I heard footsteps on the beach. They had reached the island. With my heart pounding like a war drum, I opened the box. It didn't contain documents as I expected. It was full of plastic bags containing a white substance, cocaine. A lot of it. Now I understood. Suleiman wasn't just a fish merchant. He was a drug smuggler using fishermen as cover, the sea as his hiding place, and his graveyard. "Khalid," Suleiman's voice came from outside. "Come on, let's talk like men. We can reach an arrangement." I searched for a back exit, but the windows were nailed shut. Then I noticed a loose plank in the rotten floor. I pulled it up, revealing a ladder leading to a cellar. I descended into the darkness, closing the opening behind me. The cellar smelled of salt and rot. Using a small lighter I found in my pocket, I explored the place. Then I screamed. The cellar was full of skeletons. Recent ones, some still had decaying flesh. I saw rings, watches, personal items. I recognized the watch of another fisherman who disappeared months ago. A necklace belonging to my cousin's daughter. Her husband had been lost at sea. This was Suleiman's graveyard. Anyone who opposed him ended up here. And above all, on the wall, strange drawings. Not just drawings, rituals. Ancient symbols tied to sailors' legends of the Deep Eater, a creature fed with sacrificial corpses. Suleiman didn't just kill his enemies, he offered them to a monster of his own twisted belief. Or maybe... tap, tap, tap. The sound returned. But this time, it wasn't from beneath water. It came from beneath the cellar floor itself. There was another level below. I heard the hatch above open. They had found me. "Khalid, Suleiman said as he descended the ladder. "You knew you couldn't escape, didn't you? You disturbed the dead tonight, and now you must pay." The large man came down behind him holding a hunting knife. I backed into a corner, my hands searching the cold wall. Then something strange happened. I felt a cold draft from behind. A hidden gap. There was a narrow passage. I slipped inside without hesitation. The passage was low. I had to crawl. I heard their angry shouts behind me, but the passage was too narrow for the large man. I crawled through pitch darkness until the tunnel opened into a natural cave. A secret cave on the island, forgotten by time. In the center was a small basin of seawater. On its rocky shore stood an altar. Not a modern one. A very old altar, carved from stone and marked with symbols like those on the cellar walls. Beside it, a pile of bones. Human and animal, arranged deliberately. But the most terrifying thing was what I saw in the still water. Something was moving there. Something big. Bigger than any fish I had ever seen. A shadow circling slowly, waiting. I heard footsteps behind me. Suleiman and the thin young man had followed, leaving the big man behind. "Oh, Khalid," Suleiman said, admiring the scene. "You found the Holy of Holies, the place of offerings." "You're insane," I shouted. "All these people. Why?" "The sea world is ancient," he replied politely as if lecturing. "It has its laws. Sometimes sacrifices must be made to keep balance. The depths hunger, and we feed them. In return, they grant us wealth and safety." I looked at the young man. His eyes were wide with fear, as if he was seeing this for the first time. You thought we were only smuggling drugs, didn't you?" I asked him. He stayed silent, then nodded weakly. "Shut up," Suleiman barked. Then he turned to me. "Khalid, you have a great honor. You will be the offering that ends the police search for Fahd. Your body will be covered with drugs, and will say you were smuggling and got into a fight with your partner." He pulled out a gun from his coat. At that moment, something unexpected happened. The water in the basin began to churn violently. Large bubbles rose to the surface, and a foul smell of rot and sour salt filled the cave. Then it appeared. I cannot describe it perfectly because terror warped my memory. It was huge, pale white, like a corpse long drowned. It had fins like a fish, but also thin limbs ending in long claws. Its face, God, its face was a grotesque mix of shark and drowned human, with large, endless black eyes. "The master," Suleiman whispered in horrified awe. "You've come." But the creature did not look at him. Its black eyes were fixed on me. Then it moved with shocking speed for something so large. Not toward me, but toward Suleiman. Suleiman's scream was cut short as the long claws seized him, dragging him into the water. He fought wildly, firing 2 shots that hit the creature with no effect. The water turned dark red as Suleiman vanished beneath the surface. The thin young man screamed and fled back through the passage. I remained frozen, unable to move. Then the creature's black eyes turned to me. It approached the rocky shore. I saw it more clearly now. Its body covered in deep scars, patches of decayed skin, and beneath its chin, something glinted. A ring. A golden ring dangling from a chain. Fod's ring. Suddenly, I understood. This wasn't a mythical beast. It was something worse. It was Fod, or what remained of him. He had fallen into the waters tainted with the drugs they were smuggling. Or maybe he'd tried them himself. He transformed, deteriorated, becoming this thing. And he was still alive, still hungry. His voice came as a wet, gurgling whisper. "Khalid, get me out." He recognized me. Something human still lingered inside that monstrous form. I began to back away, but my foot caught on the pile of bones. I fell, my eyes locked on the creature as it climbed out of the water, moving unnaturally on its claws. "Always hungry," it whispered. My hand struck something hard, a small human skull. A child's skull. I looked around and saw children's bones in the pile. The family from the island. They hadn't disappeared. They were sacrificed. Something inside me ignited. A sacred fury. These were not criminals. They were innocent. All those fishermen, all those people. "No," I shouted at the creature. "You're Fod. You're human. Remember." The creature stopped. Its huge black eyes flickered with confusion. For a few seconds, I saw humanity return to that ruined face. Then hunger returned. It roared, an underwater siren's wail, and lunged toward me. But before it reached me, there was an explosion. A blast from above. The police had arrived. Maybe the thin man turned himself in, or maybe they had been watching all along. The cave ceiling began to collapse, stones falling into the basin. The creature screamed and dove back underwater to escape the falling rocks. I crawled back through the passage as the cave collapsed behind me. I reached the cellar, then the ground floor, where police officers were bursting in. But the story didn't end there. I am now in my cell, accused of murders I didn't commit. Suleiman's evidence was forged against me. But every night I hear it. Tap, 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 on the window of my cell facing the distant sea. He knows I'm here. He's waiting. And on some nights, when the fog is thick, I see a large white shadow swimming near the coastal prison, still hungry. And thus, I learned a horrifying truth. Sometimes the real monsters are the ones we create ourselves, born from our greed, our failures, and our fear. And like the depths that birthed them, they never forget a meal that escaped. And worst of all, sometimes monsters learn how to wait.